Hello, welcome everyone. So tonight I thought it'd be kind of fun to do something a little different. Um, with all the talks about Iger and Chapek and what changes might be coming to the parks or reservation system or whatnot. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to get some of my friends from the Leaving Today podcast and talk about what kind of changes we would do to the parks. So let's get with it. Hello and welcome everybody to this special video presentation. We've got some friends of mine over here. You guys want to introduce yourself and talk about the podcast?
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for having us. My name is Mark. I'm one of the co-hosts of the podcast called Leaving Today podcast. As you can see here, a little shameless plug. You can get these shirts on TeePublic right now, 40% off for the holidays.
Nice.
We've got quite a few of those. But on a serious, and I'm actually serious about that. But on a serious note, we just about to wrap up our 6th year, 163 episodes podcasting. We are a podcast that focuses on Disneyland, DCA, the company itself, the IP, some of the animation, but really we talk about the history of the park, changes, complaints, a lot of just real honest talk that hopefully that you guys would like to enjoy. That's really what we do. Excited, we're just about to start our 7th year, and it would not be possible without the help of my co-hosts, one of my co-hosts over there, wherever he is on your feed, Udi.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Udi, and like Mark said, I am a co-host with him on Leading Today podcast. Yeah, we all started with Mark coming up to me one day and going, "Hey, you want to do a podcast about Disneyland?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do that." 6 years later, 160 what? 63?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and here we are having a good time.
And I poached him from another podcast he was doing, and I didn't think, honestly, I didn't think we would get past a few episodes because, well, I always wanted to get past a few, but
Mm-hmm.
he was really busy with his other show he was doing. I go, well,
Mm-hmm.
um, I was gonna ask his host, hey, can you loan out Udi for a couple shows so we can see how this thing works?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but now I'm doing this one. I do another one, but that one this is my primary.
It's your bread and
Yeah,
butter.
Yeah.
yeah, it's bread and butter. Yeah, and it's funny we're talking about podcasting. I know that's not the topic for tonight, but while we're here, 6 years, and it's changed our lives for the better. You wouldn't think that three friends sitting around a coffee table with wine and beer and bourbon or whatever, talking
Mm-hmm.
about Matterhorn and Big Thunder Mountain and Pirates of the Caribbean and churros
Mm-hmm.
and menus and all this kind of stuff would be that important. But when you get listeners from around the world, which we do,
Mm-hmm.
we were pretty popular in the Philippines for a time being. Oddly enough, I don't know
Big
why,
Disney fans over
but
there.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mexico and England and things like that, and all
Mm-hmm.
across America. Mostly in California though, because that's where we're from. But it puts things into perspective when you know you've got list and we're pretty friendly podcast where we always invite our listeners on the show if they want to come in and talk. We're not some exclusive Disneyland club or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but when they talk about how the show impacts their lives, it helps them with their drive to work. It helps them if they're sick or in the hospital and they downloaded stuff and they can laugh and complain about something, probably something that Udi says mostly. And
They're getting mad at me.
or when Jess and Udi get into a row, that's pretty fun for me, and I think people like that too. But we're primarily actually not primarily, we were exclusively an audio podcast, but hopefully next year we're going to start moving some stuff over to YouTube, because I kind of like that platform and reach a different audience, and maybe we can expand our show a little bit and have cool graphics and whatnot. But
Nice.
like I said, it has changed our lives for the better. I know Udi's has some opportunities come his way because of the show. Um, Not only with his work, but he got to be helping out with a movie, and that was cool.
Yep, all good. I mean, I talk about it on our show, and I've talked about it a few times. From when we began, when Mark came up to me, and to where I am now, I would have never been able to, picture where I'm at, and it is really in direct relation to the show. I can look back now and look at how my life is, and how many of the opportunities I've had, and I've gone through, and the people I've met, amazing people, are almost predominantly because Mark decided to come up and ask me, and I said, yeah. So, I'm incredibly thankful for that, because we have the opportunity. And then I always want to say that's kind of the beauty of Walt and Disneyland, how it's something that has affected my life. Jason, Mark, Jess, how many people, how many mutual friends, how did we become friends? All these things, not only, from here across the country, across the globe, but really across time. And I think it's one of the things that makes Disneyland so great, is how, and Walt so great, and such an epic man, and being able to have a vision and complete that, and look at how he's affected so many lives, and how many more he's going to affect through time. I mean, it is without a doubt a very important and poignant man, and just I'm incredibly grateful that he did that, and everything that's brought me. And a lot of people, and I don't think I'm being overly dramatic when I say that. Like, I think for all the things that has affected my life, Mark, like all our lives and our friends, you think about that it being reproduced not only across the country, but across the world and across time. So it's just very, I don't know, it's epic, it's huge, it's very overwhelming when you really think about how much has happened and how much more will happen.
Great.
Yeah, and for sure. I mean, like everyone we meet is very, very cool. Including you, Jason. It's like we would have never been talking to you if we wouldn't have the show. And really people that we reach out to on a whim, we end up being really cool people. Like, for just atop my, Mary, Marcy Carricker Smothers. She's big with Disney. She's a friend. She's like a personal friend of ours now, for sure. I happened to reach out to the owner of a guy who runs a shop in downtown Disney. In downtown Sacramento. And Troy. His name is Troy. He opened up a shop called Stage 9, and that dude loves Disney. And I was like, dude, can we talk to you? He said, absolutely. He came down, the three of us, and guy's a friend of ours now. And his shop is incredible.
Yeah.
And Sam Carter, the guys, absolutely, Sam Carter. I mean, it's the list that, like, the hits just keep on coming. And we got a lot more coming up too. We've got the Von Roll guys coming up in a couple months. It's just a little bit of
couple weeks.
So, and for those of you listening, that's they own the Skyway company. They're all those Von Rolls. So that's crazy. Anyways, enough about us, Jason. You invited us on to talk about something. I assume it wasn't about us.
No, but in a similar fashion, just getting to my story, I guess. Udi and I have a friend in common, um, Christy, who pretty much started my whole business of making signs because I made a sign for her daughter. She asked me to do that. That led to me talking to a Disney vlogger who I was following. He had a friend that made signs, and just going forward, I became friends with them. Um, his friend managed Bob Gurr, who is the guy who built the designed People Mover, monorail, anything with wheels at Disneyland. I've become pretty good, friends with him. I've talked music with him because he makes his own music too. He's 90 years old. He still is very active.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I met several other vloggers. I met the voice of Mickey Mouse, Brett Iwan. Actually made him a sign. Just all kinds of people, and not just in the Disney World, but in woodworking. A lot of vloggers and other people that way. And the same kind of way you guys are talking. Like, it's completely changed. Not only just my life, but just like I said, my whole business. These channels that I have here. And obviously meeting you guys, and I was on your podcast a couple months ago, and I'll link that in the description. And so it's nice to have you guys come on to my channel, and we can talk about some things. So let's get into that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So like I said, I have vlogger friends, and then we were talking, and the whole Iger Chapek thing came up, and we were talking about how things would be if like so and so bought Disney or whatever. What would you do? And this video is nothing new. I mean, it's been so many people have done what would you do here and there, but I think with the recent changes, it's a good idea to come back and talk about what we would do. What would we do to the park, to reservations, to APs, whatever. So, anybody want to hop in there and talk about things, or should I go first, or what?
So, man, this is your show. Udi will jump in. Udi,
okay. I'm known to just kind of go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, I mean, we'll go with the current situation. Definitely the topic of Iger and Chapek and the pros and cons is the hot topic right now, and we talked about it in our latest episode too. And a lot of people were very happy with Iger that they're coming back. I mean, I think we mentioned before that off camera that the town meeting and everything. And I will say that I am not of the school of thought, and was not very enthusiastic, I'll put it that way, with Iger coming back. No Chapek apologist. I don't think that he was some great CEO, because he wasn't. But I think a lot of the problems or issues that people have with the company and the park right now don't lie completely Chapek's feet. I think a lot of it has to do with Iger. A lot of the things that Iger implemented are the issues that a lot of people don't like. I think Chapek could have done a better job of maybe trying to correct them. But at the end of the day, I mean, the buck stops with him. He's a CEO. He's the top man. Everything, if the company fails, it's under his leadership. Whether or not you want to say he's got handed a bunch of time bombs and they started going off, okay.
Right, but you could have done something.
So, exactly. So I think for everybody who's happy about Iger coming back, I'm like, okay, good for you. I'm glad for you, but I don't view it the same. I don't think Iger's gonna do anything. The guy was in charge for as long as he was, and you look at his first 10 years of it was great. Astronomical changes, improvement, growing the company bigger. And then you come to the second half, and then that's when you really kind of look at him like,
buying
was that
Star Wars and
smart
Marvel
idea?
And all that. Fox.
Yeah, and then the Fox, I think, was really the one that made me kind of go like, really.
Just the
I
fact that
mean,
they're not even really using like you don't have their movies up on Disney Plus. I mean, I think there's like a couple, but that's about it.
Right.
yeah, and when you really look at it, it was more of a thing of like it was too much.
Hmm.
It was it was just too much, and I think he put Chapek behind the eight ball a little bit, and then COVID hit, and then what do you do at that point?
Right.
So that's why I mean I just don't think Iger is going to come in and correct the problems. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and you mentioned the town hall, so during
Hmm.
that, he brought up Josh Tomorrow and some of the things that he's kind of suggesting that it's going to be on Tomorrow's shoulders, like
Right.
reservations and AP. We don't know if in the past Tomorrow had an effect on those, so we don't know if anything's gonna change. Other questions Iger kind of dodged and says he has to look into things. So
Hmm.
yeah, I mean,
Well, he's being a politician.
Yeah,
right.
very diplomatic, right?
So we don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean, and that's.
I'm gonna say we don't know what's gonna change if anything happens right away or not. I mean, a couple people are let go, but that's about it so far. So
Mhm.
Right.
Well, I think Iger, the one thing you can definitely say about him, and I use politician with somewhat a negative connotation. People who know me know why, um, but what I mean for him is that he is a good speaker. He's very charismatic. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to get people going. He knows how to drive people in a direction. So he had to come in and put a very positive outlook, or try to.
okay,
Running a little bit on nostalgia, a little bit of like, oh, remember the glory days of Disney before all that, and a lot of people, I think that was their initial like feel good, like they got their hit of like, oh, look. Um, so I give him credit because he can move people, he can direct people. He is very good at that, and I've seen plenty of his presentations and talks, and the guy is a very good speaker and really a good leader. Whether or not I agree with what direction he's going in. Fact remains that he can move people in that direction. You got to give it to him for that.
Yeah, and
and go ahead.
I'll just add to that, being about a good speaker. I on purpose I watched Chapek's opening for D23 this year just to see what it was about again. Um, and it's like 13 minutes long, and it's just I wouldn't say it's cringeworthy, but you can see his body language. He was just very stiff, and like he was just doing it out of obligation. Like he's like pointing to things and, oh, you're gonna have a great weekend. We've got a lot in store for you. Next up is this, and it's like, okay, I don't believe anything you're saying,
Yeah,
and so that's a big difference between. And that's not a knock on him. That's just who he is. And
Mm-hmm.
I think he's very good at what he does. I just don't think this is the right role for him. You
yeah. I
know.
mean, he got in that position for a reason. I'm sure he was good
Right. Yeah.
for what he did before.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Um,
So
yeah.
so here
Well,
we are.
I don't want to talk bad about D23, but that one sucked.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't worry, we did it for you already.
Right.
With
Yeah.
Sam, with Sam Carter. That was a fun episode. But yeah.
Yeah. We had like a whole hour afterwards that we talked about stuff that we didn't
Oh
even
yeah.
record.
I wish we could have recorded that and put that up because on camera, off mic, on mic, and people are a little bit more reserved. Off mic, it was a fire. It was a great show, a great
Oh,
conversation. Anyway.
yes, yes.
Anyway.
So let's talk about uh, I don't know, reservations. Like that just has to go, right? I mean, I hear there might be changes, but then I don't believe them because of what Iger said. How he had to look into things, or it's tomorrow's thing. So I mean, there was talk about how maybe people who actually buy tickets wouldn't have to use the reservation, but I, we'll see when that happens. But um,
No.
I don't
Yeah.
think there's
Reservations gotta go.
a lot of positive to having the reservation system. It's just a drawback. I mean, I'm sure it probably helps their numbers and casting having cast members in the right place. But other than that, I mean, you can do the same thing with having, predict numbers. It's not much different.
Right.
Um,
Well, no, I agree. I mean, the reservation system is, and I say it all the time, it's all for meta, all the meta.
Hmm.
Try to control, try to get people here, try to get people there.
right, but I mean, they've
And
been in business for how long? They predict
100 years.
the people coming to the parks and the same.
hmm
They can do this. They don't need
hmm
the reservation.
Oh no,
And
I agree. I agree.
um, AP Magic Key. I don't know why there's a freeze on that. I mean, first off, you have the reservation system in place, so you can't have I mean that many people coming in. So unless
hmm
that is going away, I still don't understand the freeze though, because in the years in the past we've had as many people have Magic Keys or sorry the
Hmm.
APs. There was no abundance of people going into the park at the same time, and it wasn't affecting everything. Everything was just fine before then. Why wouldn't it be just fine now? I can't even get my AP back because it expired and I couldn't renew in time. So I'm kind of, you know, I guess I'm a regular ticket holder now.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, that is a good question, and you don't know why. I think I remember you and I having a conversation about artificial scarcity.
Exactly
Um,
right. Yep.
and when you brought that up, I mean, I actually let you talk about it because you put it very well as to why that you think, and I agree completely why they put a freeze. Yeah, why don't you explain it better because you explain it better than I can.
Oh well, I mean, yeah, it's a technique that's not used exclusively by Chapek or Disney, but this the idea of creating a artificial scarcity on a product or a good, like Chapek, as we found out, he's been with the company for 20 years, 30 years, or whatever, and he was kind of the one responsible for the VHS is coming out limited time, right? Oh, you're only gonna get Pinocchio for 2 weeks, and then it goes back into the vault. That sort of stuff. And this whole thing with but with Magic Keys, and them coming back for like a limited time, it didn't feel right at the beginning. I go, what are they doing this for? It comes out right after their quarter earnings were announced, and now they're trying to generate a bunch of money just real quick. And then they pull them away. To me, he creates this false panic where you have to have this thing, or you're going to miss out. It's no different than Lightning Lane or Genie Plus now. You don't have to buy any of those, but your guest experience is going to suck at the park because we're not going to let you come on the attraction as
yeah,
much.
I don't understand. They open it for like what was like a week and then they close it again.
It was Yeah, it wasn't a goodwill gesture. It wasn't altruistic, and
Mm-mm.
and that's the term that came up again. It was we need to get some money into our account to make our tax or our shareholders happy, uh, and then they pulled away again. Again, as you was talking about, maybe if he was fired too soon. I would have given it, you know I had mentioned this whole year was going to be a very experimental year for the parks and the ticket systems and the APs, and
hmm
and I said, it may not be what we all want, but I think at the end we're going to get what we want, and we're probably, in my opinion, 6 months away from that.
hmm
Udi said a year,
hmm
but
A year.
yeah, I would have said till like early summer. And if we're still dealing with this nonsense, then I would have said, yeah, this guy's got to go because I mentioned this on our show, is the dude. And I know Josh Tomorrow is the one that's calling the shots for the parks, but Chapek needs to be in on those conversations. Um, and I just felt again like he did not value how important these parks are to the Disney guest. You know,
Yeah,
you. So that's all I
that's
want to say about
that's
that.
hmm
like if there's one thing that's clear, it's that.
hmm
Well, it wasn't to him.
Well, I mean to us though, it's clear
Oh,
that he did not focus on parks.
hmm
yeah.
So, well, speaking of parks, let's talk about what kind of changes would you do to rides or to the park
Nice segue,
itself? Or
Jason.
yeah. So
Pro right there.
what was that?
Pro segue right
Pro
there.
segue. And then I just mess it up by going what? So yeah, I made some graphics and some things that I would want to do, but let's hear from one of you first, maybe. What kind of things would you do?
I'll go. I
All
mean,
right, sir. Go ahead, man.
okay, I'll go. I'm fine. One of the things that got announced a couple of years ago now probably would have been is the Disney Forward project.
Yeah.
And when that came out, and looking at the concept, the idea, the modeling, the mapping for it, I'm like, holy cow! Like that's what I would do. We've I think a lot of people have clamored for a third gate for quite some time. I've always been one of the guys like maybe, maybe not. If it's the right thing and it's done properly, then why not? But that's really what I would do. Bring over the concept of having lands and having more IP and bringing more of the IPs that maybe aren't as big per se, but still well known, making another land. I mean, there are so many potential ideas out there for making those areas. I thought that was great. You extend everything because I think, that would be what I would do. I would also, though, go another level. I would expand out, maybe buy some of the surrounding businesses, but then or make them or give them an offer, kind of bring in these businesses into the Disney umbrella. I mean, leave them independent, leave them operators, but be under maybe, you're now backed by Disney. You're an official Disney partner. Those kind of, and every corporation will have partnerships, and I would love for them to do that. Therefore, they give not only a better array of offerings for where you can stay, where you can eat, all those different kind of things, but then also give a little bit more of a goodwill, job security, and a boost to the overall economy I mean, they already are for that area, but imagine if they did that, then profit sharing. There are many, 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 many things that I would do. Profit sharing would be one of them. Go in there, give them a share, maybe give them some stock in the company, get those people in there underneath and be an official partnership with Disney, and then make them more profitable, I think. And that would therefore incentivize people and those businesses and kind of revitalize that whole area even more. I think that's exactly what I would do. Do that, expand out. There've been a whole bunch of different ideas, but I think that's exactly what I would do. Open that up, give me the Disney Forward, expand out in that direction, and then make your blanket bigger, make your umbrella bigger, and bring in more of the community, more of the outlying area, and kind of pull them all into like this big dome that would be Disney.
Yeah, a lot of that is where I was going with things as well. While you're here, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. And comment below, what changes would you make at Disneyland? Maybe I'll go next, just because we were talking about it. Okay, so this is kind of currently what Disneyland is. Over here, this would be Disney Forward, at least what they claim it could be. Obviously, there'd be like bridges coming from here, from the existing parks. All the parking areas here would have to be rearranged. I'm guessing there was something about some kind of garage here, maybe underground. I thought about maybe something here because it was closer to downtown Disney and to hotels. Over here seems like you could use that for the theme park, and the space between here and here, or the lot size is not much different. And then you have over here, which would have been the Eastern Gateway. Disney bought the Carousel Inn and is currently doing nothing with it. They bought this property, which would have been part of the garage, the new garages,
Mm-hmm.
and then currently over here is where cast members park. Over here would have been where the pedestrian bridge sh- was going to be, and
Mhm.
I think if they had done that correctly and included the able for people to come out here and go to the businesses, and for the businesses to utilize this, and maybe even to utilize the parking garage, I think that would have fared a lot better for them.
Mhm.
If everybody around in this area could use these garages and shuttle buses and you know some of the other things I have marked for going in the future, like expanding monorail or whatnot. Um,
Sure.
all that kind of stuff could be utilized by all these businesses, and
Yeah.
that's kind of I think where Udi was, referring to, kind of include the
Mhm.
businesses.
Mhm.
Sure, you can include some of them. One of the things I was going to suggest is buying Garden Walk, and
Mm.
there's like a couple main reasons for that, but obviously because it would be like a kind of a connection route from here to there.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess let me show you what I have planned going forward,
Mm. Okay.
which is this. Um,
Oh, it's an updated image. All right.
yeah,
Mhm.
so
Oh,
not much
aha.
has
I
changed.
see.
So what I did was I got rid of the useless of the monorail going in the circle and the circle and the circle because you can't use
Oh.
that land right
Mhm.
here. But I still want the monorail to go in the land, so just made it a little shorter, and then be coming out here and utilizing actual property that they have already.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my main thing for buying up Garden Walk was how cool would it be if you had the monorail going through it?
Oh
You
yeah,
could
that'd be
actually
epic.
see it, like you see it going
Mhm.
through Tomorrowland, just right above the shops, and then yeah, we have a third gate. The monorail goes through that. We have some hotels, we have some backstage area, we have transportation, cast member parking, whatever you need to put there. In the green, we would have shopping, more shopping here, more shopping there. This is a land. I think it's owned by somebody, but there's nothing there, so that could be used for more shopping. Or my other main reason is Skyliner.
I
Yeah.
see that. Yeah, I see
So you
that.
could have a Skyliner from the parking garage to the new park. I don't know what the new park is. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying there's a park there. Um, going from here to downtown Disney, and then I think a big thing would be going from the convention center over to the parking and to downtown Disney. That way,
Mhm.
everybody can utilize their garages, and I think that's a big thing. And of course, that would be the underground parking, maybe some stories above ground too, for hotels and more downtown Disney and stuff. Um, but the main thing would be, kind of just a way to connect everything together. And Garden Walk is a big way of doing that. In this property here, there is like what do you call it? Like power lines going through this, so there's not a lot of room. But you
Mm-hmm.
definitely have room for some kind of shops and transportation hub here. Like
Mhm.
right here is where the buses come and turn around in Toy Story right here. You can definitely have enough space to do that here.
Oh yeah.
And you can still drop people off over here and take them over here. Um, over here was Blank Land again. There's just a couple power lines, which I think it can be moved over here. But then you could install like um, a value hotel, like they have it in Disney World.
Right.
More hotels over here on the new park, and kind of have it on the entrance, like Disneyland Paris. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I expanded the parks a little bit here and there, making use of this back stage area, which would be like expanding maybe Cars Land or Marvel. Again, I'm just suggesting that's the next land to go. If you're going to expand the park. But
No, that is great. No, the monorail. I mean, you'd have to figure out how you're gonna move all the people around, right?
right,
Mm-hmm.
and I think
And I can't get.
that is like the biggest thing, especially if you're going to put a park here, is how do you get people there, or how do you get
Mhm.
people to park hop?
Hmm. Yeah, no, and building on what they have already. I mean, the monorail is great, and they could. I think we've talked about it, Mark. That you know they need to make more. I brought it up before. The monorail was great. If you haven't ridden it, go ride it.
Right.
But doing that would be great. Then adding a Skyliner, another great way. I mean, I think maybe people may not be a big fan of that just because it goes up higher and the sight line may be kind of unruly, but all those would be great because you need to move those people around,
For sure.
and I
Yeah,
think that would be the best way to do that.
yeah, and I also think it'd be kind of cool, kind of like how the monorail goes in the park. Like you can have the Skyliner kind of go over Disneyland forward here.
Mm-hmm.
I think people would utilize it more just to get that overhead kind of view of things. I mean, we had the sky buckets that kind of did the same thing, and that was pretty popular. So, but if you can
Oh, I
also
love them.
use it for transportation, I mean, that just is a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
My only thing right here, which I didn't think about, is they already have that little bridge. I'm not sure if that would have to be moved out of the way or not, but I'm just
Mm,
here to make future plans, not delegate how it works.
right. Right.
But I mean, I spent a little time thinking about things and where to buy the property and whatnot. The only
Sure.
thing I really bought was this land and this land, and I think they might already own this, but they definitely own that. So
Yeah, I know.
um,
The Garden Walk area always comes up as a like a link to everything, but and it's been for sale a few times, but I think there's some legal issues with that place. Like there's like leases and agreements that can't be nullified.
you're right.
And that's a problem. But I mean, if they could get around some of that, but again, a lot of all, and I really like what you did, by the way. That took a lot of
Thanks.
time, and it was really really cool stuff.
Yep.
Um, but again, this is one thing that separates us from yet another thing that separates us from Disney World is that Reedy Creek. For Reedy Creek, they don't have to wait on. Well, let's get to it. It's political here in Anaheim. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about is rezoning, changing some words on some official document that says this actually can't. This instead of parking, this can be themed entertainment. This can be a
Right.
restaurant, and it's really all political at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
where Reedy Creek, they go, oh yeah, that would be great if we built a water park there. Let's go ahead and do that.
Well,
They don't
not
have to.
anymore, but yeah.
Well,
Well, if
no,
it
they
if it
still
does,
can.
I mean, if the thing changes hands, but
Yeah, if it
Mm-hmm.
changes hands, but I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's going to happen. But see, but assuming that the city of Anaheim went with it, yeah, I think that would be great, absolutely great, because we need a third park now,
right.
um, more than ever. I mean, DCA not only was it a way to showcase some new IP, but it also acts as a valve for Disneyland when
Mm-hmm.
it gets to be too big or too popular. Then people go to DCA. Well, now both these parks are jammed up, so we need something else beyond downtown Disney and
Right.
Splitsville.
And I mean, I get what you're saying about Garden Walk and all that's true. And again, like I'm not, you know, I'm not here to delegate what's legal and what's not. I'm just
Sure. Oh
throwing
no, yeah,
plans out there,
absolutely.
which Disney's done quite a few
Blue
times and had
sky.
them ripped
Yeah.
back out. So
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. Yeah,
hopefully Disney Forward actually goes forward.
for
Um,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's obviously that's just the first step.
Hmm.
I do think the Eastern Gateway is still kind of on the books. They just got to figure out the right way to do it. And I think
Yeah,
Well, I think.
if they do that Eastern Gateway, just that, that would close off that whole section where we currently have the buses coming in, right, to unload there
well, I
off of
mean, I think you
was
could
that
still kind
Harbor?
of keep part of it anyway. The bridge would take up a little bit of it, but you
Hmm.
could still have the buses coming there. You might not have all of the city buses or everything. I mean, it's just
Well,
a walkway pretty much to the.
it's a walkway, but couldn't they use the buses over by like the other side where the parking garage is, and or the one that they were going to build behind I don't even know what that property is called. You had it on your map, but it was purple. Uh,
Right.
but
That's
if they close, go ahead.
no, I was just saying
It's
that's property
behind
they
that
bought.
grand.
It was a business that's next to the cast member parking right now.
Yes, yeah, that. Um, but if they did close down the parking, sorry, where the buses are right now, then you could actually expand DCA into something. You could have more of a Marvel Land or Avengers Campus or something, whatever
Right.
they're gonna put. So
And,
that
and
could be
you
good.
are you definitely could do that if you had the monorail and Skyway or Skyliner.
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but there's still going to be the people with strollers or people who can't, okay, don't like heights or whatever. They're going to have to be
Mm-hmm.
bused. So I think there's still a reason
Sure.
for it.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right.
and you could still utilize a part of that. And we do have security checkpoints on that side, and people
Mm-hmm.
walk in from other hotels. I think it's still kind of needed. I don't think you could totally. You can definitely probably cut it in half and still do what you needed to do, but I don't think you can totally get rid of it.
Well,
Um,
the only way you could do that really is if you're going to, in my mind, is kind of do what they do with the monorail now in downtown Disney. Um, they make it another entrance in, right? So you would add the third gate, which would help alleviate some of that stress of getting people going over there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you're going to expand on the monorail, expand on the Skyliner, then you make your checkpoints um, there. You know, you make them outside of the park, outside the gate. Therefore, you can alleviate the
Oh
congestion of getting in.
yeah, and
yeah.
that's actually what I did. Just like the downtown Disney version. Although I did leave this one in the park. Um, you have to be checked from security in order to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing can happen here and in here and here. I made it stop in DCA. You would have to be checked before you hop on there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
the Skyliner, you wouldn't have to do that because you're not going into a park. You're you're going to downtown Disney here, so maybe you get checked on the way out. But other than that, anybody could really utilize that. But again, you would have your transportation buses from here to here to here. Like you could still kind of operate the same way you're doing. You just got like more.
Well, Mark, what would you do?
Um, what would I do? Oh, as opposed, I mean, in addition to what you guys talked about.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
yeah, whatever is on your mind.
I think that would be the most logical thing to do is to go forward with Disneyland Forward. Sounds kind of funny, but we need a third gate, and I've always been someone that said we need more of a forest area. We need more of a we need to expand upon some of these tales that we have that have like Snow White, Beauty and the Beast, um, Tangled, whatever, all out in this forest where the castle is, and I just that because I mean virtually every one of these fairy tales involves a castle or some sort of crazy forest where something happens, and um, I don't know. That would have to be, I think, the theme of the third gate, but I don't think it ever would. I think they want to push more Pixar stuff. I think that's where things
Well,
are with them right now, right?
it seems to me that Disneyland is like Star Wars and Disney, and then DCA is becoming Marvel and Pixar. So
Mm-hmm.
Third Gate could be other things. It could be more of the Westgate idea that happened a
Mm,
while ago.
mm-hmm.
Again, I mean, I don't know what it is. Like, it could be a number of things, but um, I'm sure no matter what it is, it's going to lead to IP somewhere.
It would
Yeah.
be. There was always this talk about a Fire Mountain and a
Oh yeah.
villains and like a villains park. If they made like a villains park exclusively as a third gate, that would be probably the best move for them because that would be a logical spot for all the Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Halloween doesn't fit. I mean, to me, honestly, Halloween fits more in Disneyland than it does at DCA. Although I think Villains Grove is one of the best things that I've ever seen. as far as for Halloween. But neither park really is built for that sort of thing, and they could have that be transformed into to hosting Halloween stuff and
Yeah.
maybe other holiday things.
I also, getting back to the Westcott, thinking
Okay.
about how Epcot is with food and wine. I mean, DCA is trying to fit that all in there, but I don't think it's built for that either. So you could
Nope.
have
No,
that move over, to the third
no,
park as well.
that always gets shoehorned in,
Yeah,
whenever they do it. Yeah.
yeah, because you can't fit it at Disneyland, so they just
Mm-mm,
push it
mm-mm.
over there.
No. No, I would be fairly upset if that happened at Disneyland. There are some things
Mm-hmm.
it's just not it's not built for that.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of that forest area,
Hmm.
that top right corner where the cleared out some of that monorail track. I mean, you could do something over there with that
Yeah.
forested
Do
area.
you mean the one that would go through Critter Country?
No, other side. So where the boats used to be, the Phantom boats or whatever they were called, where the monorail track is, and just
Oh
north
yeah.
of Autotopia.
Oh yeah. What are you talking about? That I saw some really cool concept art for that being Atlantis
Hmm.
years
Ooh,
ago.
that would be cool. Yeah.
The concept art looks incredible. Like, oh my gosh, that would make me want to uh, support that idea. But I'm, one of the few supporters of Autopia over there.
I mean, I'm all for Autopia staying, but you could
Hmm.
also change the tracks a bit and utilize that space better.
I agree.
Right now, everything's tied in with the subs because um, the subs kind of is tied in with Autopia. You can't destroy one without the other, really. But you
And
can
the
do
and
something
the
with
and the and the monorail.
and the monorail. But you can take out some of the tracks for the monorail, like I was saying. All
Yeah.
they do is go over to Autopia right there. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying eliminate it. I'm just saying let's just minimize it a bit. That that would free up some land. But
Sure.
some of that track that goes, the people movers mix in there as well. Um, I mean, I don't know if that's coming back. They say we're talking about it, making it shorter. So what if they make
Mm-hmm.
it shorter? What happens to that track? I mean, at some point, something's gonna have to go somewhere.
Yes.
You would free up more space over there. Is all I'm saying. So,
Oh
No,
yeah.
no, you're right. You're right.
um, so there was a couple other things that really kind of, I don't know. They're not a big deal, but they kind of bother me. The backside of cars.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? This looks like the worst kind of like inside of my house, like without drywall.
Mm-hmm.
The same
Yeah, I see
thing.
it every day at work.
Yeah, the same thing happens at the backside of Galaxy's Edge with the spires.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
can you just cover this? Like, I don't care if you paint it white or go away green. Just don't do this. Like, cover these up so you don't see any of this. Just make
Yeah.
it a
Well,
flat
that
wall or paint something on it even better. Make it look like mountains or something.
well, that's
But
an upgrade from what it was, Jason. I mean, that used to be opened like that.
and I know that, but why stop here?
Wow.
Because I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, it's the same thing. On the backside of Galaxy's Edge. Well, the backside of the spires.
No, but yeah, I mean, it's ugly. No, I agree. I mean, one of the most important factors about Disneyland,
Oh
and one of the
yeah.
things that they've been failing on for quite some time now has been show.
Right.
Um, Having scrim up and or not, or um, working on things during the day, all things that were big no-nos before, now they don't abide by anymore. Um, the park was always designed to, when you walked in, it was brand new, and maintenance and preventative maintenance, was always done off hour, and that has gone by the wayside. I mean, very ugly. I mean, I'm trying to think, when I went, I think it was, yeah, it was, they were redoing the exterior for Mansion. This was a few years ago, maybe a couple now. And they had the scrim up, but then the scrim came down for whatever reason, and they left it there. And then I was watching workers going up and down the scaffolding. I'm like,
Yeah,
this is horrible.
that was just recently with the treehouse as well. I mean, it's still currently actually.
It's still currently like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been days where people were like, "Oh, the scrim's down," and they, some of the vloggers are trying to get video in there, figure out what's happening, or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean that's the same thing, and talking about what you were mentioning, like the sight lines are important. That's why we have that tree that covers the monorail from certain places. There's a chimney from the Princess Theater, whatever, that covers up one of the spires. Like there's things that block that. So
Right. Right.
and I meant the spires from Big Thunder Mountain. So
Yeah.
So that makes sense. When they built DCA, they kind of like threw all that out the window. I mean, they don't even have berms. So.
No, it's DCL's held to a lower standard, and than Disneyland. I mean, that's just the way it is. I'm not saying it's wrong, right? But they didn't take the care that they did. So
yeah, no. To be real, every park is not as good.
Absolutely.
Every park, beginning with the Magic Kingdom, they started making exceptions to the main rules that make Disneyland and maintain Disneyland to be different from any other park. It's always my argument with whoever, it's small, blah, blah, I don't care.
No.
The point is that the care to the most minutest detail, not saying that there isn't that going on in other parks, because clearly Disney is going to do it that way, but the things like sightline, like certain things did not happen only because no, that's going to look ugly right there. Now it'd be no.
Right.
That is cause enough to say no. That isn't happening anymore, and that hasn't happened since the inception of that park. It hasn't. You can argue with me all you want, but it hasn't, and that's why another part of the magic of what Disneyland proper really is.
I thought you were talking about Disneyland specifically there, and
yeah, that when they created the park, that was one of the main things that make it so special. They took care to just even you looking, in a direction, you wouldn't break the mystique, the show.
Right, absolutely.
Now that goes away, that takes the sheen off of it. That takes the. I
would say that's what led to the corridors in Disney World, because of that famous thing, won't solve cast member from the wrong land or whatever. Whether that's true or not, it is still what led to
I believe that
cast members not be seen in other lands. And
well, I thought they did a great job. If you're standing in New Orleans Square, right by the Rivers of America, and you're looking out towards Galaxy's Edge, I thought that view did a wonderful job.
Right, they painted the rocks slightly different, so it kind of fits in still. And not me, but not just me, but a lot of people were very worried about, you're going to be cutting off a section of Rivers of America. You better do it right. Right.
And we saw the concept art, and I was actually blown away. I go, well, yeah, this concept art looks cool, but are you actually going to do this? And sure enough, they actually did.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised on how much I actually liked the change. I loved seeing that trestle bridge. That stupid beaver chewing on the trestle bridge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
It serves a purpose too, because it's the doorway hiding the sets for Fantasmic and stuff.
Yeah.
But they did a great job on that.
Yeah, they do. And when you're on the Mark Twain, you are really, at least for me, I'm taking out of. I don't believe I'm in Anaheim. I don't believe I'm in a theme park. I think
no. Yeah. And also, it completes that circle there. You were never, able to walk around completely. It was closed off, and now making your way through Galaxy's Edge, you can actually make a complete circle. So
true. Let me see. I don't know if I can share my screen. I pulled up that concept art.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're looking at is that is the lagoon where Autopia sits right now. You can see in the bottom center, that's the sub route. How that would have been a little bit different, but that is what someone had come up with. This is from Walt Disney Imagineering, by the way, of of what Atlantis could look like right in the middle there in the lagoon.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool looking.
I don't know what you do. I don't know what you would do in there, but it looks cool.
I mean, it
Yeah.
looks like it's got the monorail built in around it, or is that like a people mover maybe?
You got me. I have no idea.
That looks like it's.
I'm going monorail.
Is that like part of the submarine ride right there? What is that in the bottom corner?
Yeah, that's my guesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've never seen this concept art.
Mm.
Yeah, that. I mean, there's a lot going on. Like that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like in a good reason. Like one of the best things I liked about Tomorrowland back in the day was having the people mover, the monorail, the sky buckets, the cars.
Mhm.
You can Autopia. Like you had all this motion going around.
Kinetic energy.
Oh, yeah.
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 And this looks like that could have had something like that.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it looks cool. I don't know what you. I mean, no idea what's even going on here, but it looks like something I would go check out for sure.
It's too bad that
But-
movie kind of bombed, but
Yeah.
all right. Well, maybe this is a good time to call it a little good night. But
Okay.
I think we had a good conversation. It sounds
yeah.
like we are all kind of on the same page here. Some
Yeah.
of our ideas and whatnot, and it's always good to talk to you guys. And maybe we can do something else like this. In the
Absolutely,
future,
man.
And,
For sure.
maybe it won't take us 3 times to record this.
True. Well,
Some issues
you
going
learn, I
on
guess.
here, but
Yeah.
I thank you guys for
So
being
Jay-
on, and
Of course.
looking
I was
forward
gonna ask
to
you, Jason. Are you looking to get another Magic Key or annual pass?
once I am allowed to, yeah, I will.
But you could have done it like a week and a half ago.
And I
want-
missed my window because I had to wait until I got paid again, and then by the time I got paid, I didn't have a window to do it. So
Sure. Okay. Understood.
yeah, it was bad timing. So
No. Okay.
No,
Well,
yeah.
it wasn't meant to be. So the next iteration will be the best one for you.
Have hope that it happened for a reason. That's all I'm gonna, because I mean I made the call when they got released, the new ones, and I'm like, nope, not doing it.
yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, as many times as I'm going currently, I'm okay with buying 1 or 2 park, day passes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. Right now, I would have been blocked out anyway. So
Mm-hmm. Whole other topic.
yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah. So again, thank you guys for being on, and look forward to
Thank you.
your upcoming podcast and watching into
Yes.
your live stream that you guys do before the Sunday
Yep.
night live streams or whatever. So those are
That's
always fun.
Yeah.
kind of become a thing. So I
Yeah.
guess we're doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But no, thanks for having us on, Jason.
Yeah. Thank you.
Always enjoy it. And your listeners, if you want to check us out, we're at leavingtodaypodcast.com, or we're on any kind of streaming platform you can think of. We're there: Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Podbean, Apple iTunes. We're all there.
Cool. Yeah, and like I said, I'll link it below. I'll link your was it TeePublic or shop?
Yeah, everything's on. You can follow us on Instagram at Leaving Today Podcast.
Okay.
Or go to leavingtodaypodcast.com. Everything's on there. All of our
Cool.
links to everything. And we have a link tree on Instagram. So,
Great.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and have a good night.
But thank you, Jason. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.